Hi there, and welcome to the Dare to Care with Michelle podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Weihman. I am here to help you live a healthier and happier life with simple tips and a touch of grace so you can feel your best inside and out. Each episode, my guest and I will offer you real talk about personal growth, embracing authenticity, empowering you on your journey to well-being. Whether you're looking for practical advice or the encouragement to show up as your true self, you're in the right place. Are you ready to join the Dare to Care movement? Okay, then let's go. I am so excited, and this is an interview that has been a long time coming. I've been waiting, and we've been having trouble. You'd think when we live in the same house and our offices are next to each other, that it would just be like bam, 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 so easy to interview. I should be interviewing him every month. But we haven't been able to schedule our time together. So I am excited to have this very special guest today. This is my husband, Christoff J. Weihman. Besides being an amazing husband, father, bonus dad, puppy dad, grandpa, and all that stuff, he is also an award-winning speaker coach, 2 times, correct? The last 2 years, a speaker coach, 5-star customer service trainer, and he is here to talk to us about how we can adjust our mindset for success in the new year, both personally and professionally. With a passion for empowering others to speak with confidence and deliver exceptional services, Christoff has worked with many top-tier clients to help them achieve greater success in their personal and professional life. Christoff, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you here. So excited for my listeners who have heard about you over and over and over again to finally get to meet you.
Woo! Yay!
Christoff,
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
My story is today I got Lily with me because she was downstairs just hanging out by herself, and I felt like she needed to be around us and not just by herself all afternoon. My story, I grew up in a small town, Ottawa, Illinois. Something that a lot of people don't know is that Ottawa, Canada was named after Ottawa, Illinois. And people say, "What? Really?" No, not really. But it's the Native Indians, the Ottawa Indians. I grew up in a small town, and not a whole lot of cultural diversity. It's white Midwest. And I learned Spanish in high school. I took Spanish in school. I can't say I was fluent. There was nobody to speak Spanish to, but I got A's. And when I was 19, I went to junior college. I didn't really know where my life was heading, where I was going. I thought I was going to go away for college. But instead of going away for college, I went overseas and joined a non-denominational Christian mission organization and at 19 years old.
Wow.
And boy, my eyes were open to what the world is all about and connecting with other cultures. Did my training with this mission organization in the islands of Guam and Saipan, and then ultimately landed in the Philippines. And so for the next 11 and a half, 12 years or so, I lived in the Philippines. I got married, original previous wife, not Michelle, is from the Philippines, have 2 children who are half Filipino. What's very interesting, just a little side note, when I tell people I used to live in the Philippines, then I tell people that my wife, Michelle, is a nurse, then they can't understand, wait, your wife is a nurse, you lived in the Philippines, your wife is white, Americano. She is not Filipino.
I am not.
It's because, here in Las Vegas, there's a very large percentage of the nursing population that are Filipinos. I lived there and I found that one of my gifts and talents is language learning. I really enjoyed. So that practice, those years of studying Spanish, I guess, got my mind accustomed to learning another language. And I found out I'm really good at it. Michelle knows, and I will tell your audience, I don't know how to change oil on a car.
No.
I don't know how to fix anything. I do know how to use a hammer and a screwdriver, but that's about it. I don't know how to fix anything, make anything manually. I can draw a picture of it, or I can tell you how to say it in Tagalog or Ilocano. So I learned that was one of my gifts, one of my strengths, one of my superpowers. I thought I was going to live in the Philippines forever. And
Thankfully, you did not.
right, life happens. And uh, I don't know how much you want me to tell you or to share.
So you left the Philippines after a few years.
After a number of years, my
You
my then
started
wife
off
and
in
I
LA.
separated and divorced, and I ended up in LA. I
Nice.
landed in LA. Rather than going back to the Midwest, I went to LA. I had always dreamt of being an actor.
Uh-huh.
In school, I was in plays. I'm an award-winning speech giver, even though I don't teach speakers to give speeches today. I have a different mindset, but I did dramatic duet acting when I was in high school.
Funny.
Did so that was always a dream or a vision of mine. So coming back to the States, let's go to LA and pursue that whole dream of becoming an actor.
Yeah.
I spent some time doing some stand-up comedy. I actually did stand-up comedy at the world famous Comedy Store on the Sunset Strip in LA, which is really cool. And here now, after having had my first career as a missionary, my next dream of becoming an actor, famous stand-up comic, that didn't come to fruition, really. I had bits and pieces of that happen, but that was not really where I was meant to be for a long term. And along the way, I also always had a connection with the restaurant industry.
Hmm.
And as a missionary here, I was in service as ministry. And then later on, it shifted to service in terms of customer service and
Gotcha.
hospitality.
Cool.
Had the opportunity to work with Wolfgang Puck, and that's where I developed a real passion for the service industry, service excellence. And those times of working as a server, bartender, etc., it eventually at that point it became more than just a job. It really became more of a passion. And I've written two books on that topic of service and hospitality, customer service, customer experience. And uh, I don't know where you want to go.
Yeah.
There's too
So
much.
so let's play a little bit. So from LA, you went to St. Louis,
I did.
which was to be closer to your kids because your kids had already moved to the States.
Uh, I suppose, but the real reason, I mean, yes, my kids do live in the Midwest. The impetus to moving to LA was because the last 6 months that I'm sorry, to St. Louis, the last 6 months that I spent in LA were the worst part of my time there. I actually was homeless. And so I became homeless through a series of different events. I moved to St. Louis specifically to kind of regroup, get back on my feet. And my uncle lived there, and he said, "You can come in." It's very cliche. You can come and stay in the basement.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Okay." And it was a great opportunity, and thank God, and God bless my Uncle Bob for opening that door. And hence at that time I was able to then see my kids more often because my children, they both grew up in the Philippines and didn't come to the United States until they were 18 years old. So it's a journey. We think we're going to be at a certain place for a certain purpose and a certain time frame, and it may or may not turn out to be the way that we intend or expect. And I guess along the way, it's very interesting. And I know this word means something a little bit different today, but I've always joked that I'm going to write my autobiography called Life in Transition.
Oh, yeah.
because it's
That's a
always
different meaning now.
so that would not be the title today. I lived in so many different places. Even when I was in Southern California, I was always moving around. I, I, I've lived in so many different locations. And guess what? Since I met Michelle, we've moved a few times, but we've moved together, and it is only
And we,
I now have some stability. I
yeah, we have a lot of, so once in St. Louis, you were there for about 10 years almost?
six and a half, 7.
7 years. And
I
then
am not quite that old.
and then you and I met and we through again a series of different things you found you decided that you were moving to Las Vegas for your career. I'm a nurse. I was recently divorced. I'm a nurse. I can work anywhere.
Hmm.
So we moved to Vegas. That's that. So once we got to Vegas, you were really focused on your customer service training
Uh,
until
well,
2020.
but years leading up to that, I was not in the training yet. If you remember, I moved to Vegas in December 12 years ago. Michelle came in January to follow that 2013. I was still working with the staffing and recruiting company, and I was 3 years into my first book, writing my first book. It took me 6.5 years to complete my first book called Getting to Wow. Everybody wins with 5-star service. And we might think, wow, that's a long time. It is a long time, and it doesn't take that long. But I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to write this book about 5-star customer service, and I saw a big gap in the industry. How oftentimes restaurants do not focus on customer service as the primary motivator. It's all these other aspects. And once I wrote that book, it was the launch and the door opener for my service and hospitality training company. And
Right.
living here in Las Vegas, it's the mecca of hotels,
Yeah.
restaurants, resorts. And so the opportunity was the potential opportunity was amazing. And had I not written the book, I don't know what the opportunity would have turned into being because I would have been knocking on restaurant doors, calling up these executives and saying, "Hey, I want to come and train your staff. Who are you?" Well, a guy who cares about customer service. Yeah, but who are you?
Mm-hmm.
And I learned early on the importance, the value of positioning yourself as an authority. And one of the best ways of doing that is by having a book in whatever form or fashion. There are many people who
Yeah.
start off with contributing a chapter to a book, which you've done multiple times,
Multiple times.
and it establishes you as an authority.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's opened so many doors for us. That book, Getting to Wow, I did not know anything about Amazon bestsellers back then. So it's not an Amazon bestseller, but I will tell you it is a bestseller because we have sold tons and tons and tons of books.
Yeah.
And it has continued to connect us with companies that then call and ask for our services to bring 5-star service to their clientele.
Yeah. The really exciting thing about that book was that opened up the bartenders union for you.
It did. It did. And I didn't even know about the bartenders union. When I moved to Vegas, I had already quit working in the service industry. I was an employee in a staffing and recruiting company. So I had left the hospitality arena because I didn't want to be an employee anymore. And I was focusing on my passion. And I had the vision of starting training. And that happened by accident by visiting the first distillery in the state of Nevada,
Right.
Las Vegas Distillery. And I actually did training at the Bartenders Union here in Las Vegas 3 years in a row. And there are hundreds, maybe even 1,000 bartenders, bar managers who
Mm-hmm.
live in Las Vegas, who have gone all over the country. And oftentimes over the years, when Michelle and I are out at an event or at a restaurant, a hotel, a bar, or whatever, somebody will say, "Oh, I know you. I know you." I remember you. What did I do? I went to your class. In fact, just as recent as earlier this month, and we'll get into the speaker coaching thing. I do a master class called Stand Innovation: How to Turn Your Story into Your Power Talk. And one of the people who registered and was on the master class as an attendee 2 weeks ago, he's been on my email list since the first time that I trained at the Bartenders Union
Wow.
about 7 or 8 years ago. He is no longer in the hospitality arena. He's in real estate. He's doing other things. He's an entrepreneur. And he signed up for my class that's coming up in January, coming up this month. And it's amazing. He remembered me. I didn't remember him at first. So I think from that, you never know the impact you're making. You never
Yeah.
know who something is going to click with eventually. So he's been on my email list for like 7 years. He's seen when I've sent these emails about all these different things. And now last month, it made sense for him to say, yeah, by the
Yeah.
way, have a vision of becoming a speaker. Okay, great. That's one of the
That's
things I'm
awesome.
doing now.
I love that.
Bringing Lily back up.
Oh boy. So
It's a
you
family show, my friends.
it is. So you were doing the customer service training, and then in 2020 customer service training went out the window completely.
Everything shut down.
Everything shut down.
Here in Las Vegas, as I said a moment ago, it's the mecca for all things hospitality, restaurants,
Yeah.
resorts, hotels. Every place, not every place shut. Yeah, yeah. At one point, everything was closed.
Everything was closed for a minute.
Everything was closed, and they laid off tens of thousands of people
Yeah.
in hospitality, and people who were career executives, they never came back.
Right.
And in terms of finality, I think it was the stat was something like one out of every three restaurants
Hmm.
closed, never to open again.
That's crazy.
In the country, it was one out of 7 or 8, but in Las Vegas, it was about 33%.
So then
And
all of a sudden in 2020, you tell me I've got this idea. I want to start a speaker competition. Was that 2020 or 2021?
2019,
2019.
at the end of the year, right before everything
Shut down.
went crazy, 2019, December, and I'll tell you this, friends, back in 2019, aside from Toastmasters, really, there were not people doing speaker competitions or
No,
contests or challenges. It was not really a thing.
no.
And we really pioneered this. I am proud to say that others have taken notice and like, oh, and they call it something different. But Ultimate Speaker Competition was born in 2019.
Yeah.
I had the vision a few months earlier, and I didn't know what it was going to be called. Is it going to be the speaker smackdown or the speaker? I don't know what it was going to be called. And I put a post on Facebook. I have this idea. It's going to be like this, and there's going to be categories, and there's going to be awards and prizes and all these different things. And one of my mentors, Bill Walsh, makes a comment on my post. Oh, that sounds awesome. How do I get involved? And I know he wasn't saying how do I get involved to be one of the speaker competitors.
Right.
I think he's kind of an established, not kind of, he's very
He's
established
very
as
established.
very
Yeah.
established, and he's one of my mentors. And I said, "Oh, this really? Are you serious?" And I texted him, and he messaged me, and he said, "Text me the information." So I'm texting this, how you can only have a certain number of characters, and it says no more, no more. You have to start a next text. I didn't have a name. I didn't have the official name yet, and I didn't have the URL. I just had the vision. I just had this idea. And so I text him, here's what my thought is. I think it's going to be like this, and I like to do this, and it's going to be from people from all over the country coming to the Vegas. And he said, okay, I'm in. I'll be a sponsor. Really?
Yeah.
And
And I remember that moment because it was almost like is he kidding or is he for
Yeah,
real? Because it was so. Bill Walsh is he's such a good guy as we've grown in our relationship with him, and he's a newlywed too. So him and Carla, he's such a good guy. But it was like he really he's ready to support this. Um, the reason I really wanted to throw that out there was because it went from an idea, and just I want people to know not to just throw away their ideas, because you could have just been like, I have this idea, I'm going to write it down, and then that's it. And instead,
absolutely.
you freaking put it out there, and now you
Now
just keep.
we've done this event 11 times since 2019, and we did it without Michelle present because she got sick at that time in December 2020 at the height of the pandemic, uh, with masks on and all the craziness. In a room that could have seated 200 people, we were limited to 30 people in the room.
Right.
I just shared from Facebook memories the pictures, and here's two people at a table, and then 10 feet away, not 6 feet, 10 feet away, here's another table with four
Yeah.
people. But we did it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things from that. One is, so we're talking about mindset. Every Most entrepreneurs know and or have read the book Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is so foundational to being a successful, not just entrepreneur, but in any area of life.
Mm-hmm.
The first chapter is titled Thoughts Are Things.
Yeah.
And everything begins in thought. So mindset is also about your thoughts and your thinking. And you mentioned about putting it out there. A lot of times we have ideas and we don't act on them.
Right.
A lot of people have ideas, they don't even write them down.
It's true.
They just say it in passing. Oh, I have this idea. I'm going to do this. And then days, months, weeks, years go by, and then they might see somebody that's put it into into implementation. They've
Mm-hmm.
executed on it. And they, oh, that was my idea. And
Yeah.
I really truly, and I listen, I have, Michelle knows, I have notebooks upon notebooks, and
Upon notebooks.
I have projects that I have put time and energy and money and research into. And I have a vision that ultimately those various projects will come to fruition. I don't believe that things come to us just for the sake of it being an exercise of thinking. It possibly, but I really truly believe that they come to us for us to put them out into the universe and bring them into being.
Yeah, for real. It's so interesting. So as you developed, and I kind of wrote along, I've gotten more active as we've
Mhm.
done Ultimate Speaker Competition. But as you're developing Ultimate Speaker Competition, it not morphed, but
Evolved.
it continued to evolve. But you continued to evolve
Mhm.
also, and all of a sudden you are an award-winning speaker coach. How does that happen?
For so long, part of it's called Ultimate Speaker Competition, friends, but it is so much more than the word competition. We
Right.
say it's about connection and collaboration and community and a competition. And from the beginning, because I have been coached and trained and mentored by amazing speakers and speaker coaches themselves, Bill Walsh being one, Dave Van Hoos, Les Brown, James Dentley. There are so many Joel Bauer, people that I've learned from. But from the very beginning, even though I was giving guidance or coaching to the speakers before the event on Zoom, giving them training, I, in my own mind and out loud, I would say, well, I'm not a speaker coach because I didn't think that I qualified. I didn't think that I was like any of those names that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Forbes Riley, she's another one, very influential, impactful in my life as a speaker. And yet, if we, all of us, if we've been trained by others, we've learned the information,
Mm-hmm.
we've distilled it into a way that it makes sense for us. And you don't need a certification. That's one thing that I learned from Forbes Riley. You don't need permission. Everybody's waiting for permission to say, I'm going to go do this thing, whatever that this thing is. So, yes, a few years ago, I stepped out and said, okay, I'm a speaker coach. What gives you the right? Who says you can be? Nobody's going to come knocking on our door. Michelle, you're an empowerment coach. Who said you're a life coach? Who said you could?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. In fact, when you were writing your first book and you would talk to your mom and you'd tell your mom on the phone what your mom would say, "What are you doing?" And you would go ahead and tell that.
I, I talk to my mom, try to call almost every weekend, every other weekend. Oh, what are you doing today? Oh, I'm working on my book. What do you mean you're working on your book? What does that mean? Oh, I told you I'm writing a book. Well, how can you write a book? You're not an author.
Exactly.
Well, no, not yet. I'm not. I will be.
And
I'm in the process of.
the reason I bring that up is because you are an author, you are a speaker coach, you are like it doesn't take certification. And you talk about certification, you don't have to get a certification to be a parent, and you still get to be one, when once it
Some parent,
happens.
some parents probably need to get
I'm not
certified.
saying I didn't need certification, but I'm just saying my point is just if you put it out there that this is what I am, and so that brings us to our I am statement, and how important is what we our self talk when we're talking about mindset. How important is our self talk and our I am statements that we say to each other ourselves all the time? Uh, talk. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Uh, well, let's 1 second, if I may, just another thought about this being certified or
Uh-huh.
when I was a missionary, I knew that was my calling then, and I thought it would be forever. When I left that ministry, and then I came back to the States and I was trying to figure out what to do. And then I started developing this passion for customer service. I still had in the back of my mind, it's when I was a missionary, I felt like I'm serving God. I'm serving God. I'm serving my fellow man. How is being a server in a restaurant serving God? How is being a bartender contributing to humanity? And it took me a long time to realize that we all need to use our gifts, know what our gifts are, discover them, develop them. And once I realized that our gifts and talents are for us, and now I say our highest calling is to use write this down. Our highest calling is to use our gifts in service to others. The
Yeah.
world is waiting for you to heed the call. So we don't need the certification because we have the gift. We have been given the talent, the
Yeah.
ability, the passion. And the I am statements,
Just to stop real quick for 1 second on that, the you don't need a certification because God already certified you.
yeah.
Mic drop.
And look, friends, not to take anything away from people that have certification programs.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if that is something that makes sense for you, I don't want you to leave this podcast saying, oh, Christoph and Michelle said certifications. And I didn't say that. I
No.
said you don't need one to qualify you.
Right.
In fact, just because somebody has one doesn't mean that they do what they do at a higher level than somebody that doesn't. It
Exactly.
could, but we
Exactly.
have to go with what we feel and what resonates with us. And if getting a certification will give you more mental confidence, then go for it. Absolutely,
And
because
the training is good.
well, that's the thing. That's what I was going to say. In the certification, you are getting the training.
Uh-huh.
So, however, you are gaining your knowledge and information in your area of what is expertise, it's something that you have passion for and knowledge and experience. And however you come about that, as long as once we take it in, or even as we are taking it in, that we are then sharing it and using it to benefit others rather than just filling our brains and minds with new information and knowledge to what
Exactly.
benefit unless it's for someone else.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, let's talk a little bit about self-talk, about what we say to ourselves and the importance of that, because this is what, like, one of the big things that you stand on, especially during our event, is the statement of I am, and how it can affect us. And when we're talking about mindset, that's like the biggest thing, I think, or one of them.
It is, and it's not something that most of us learn growing up. I think maybe there's some, I mean, I know there's some schools today that are progressive and children learn about creating their own mantras. And in fact, my son and his two boys, they have their own family uh, declaration. I am strong, I am powerful, I help others. It's really cool. Those two boys did Taekwondo, and so they started with that kind of mindset of being of service to others and protecting others, etc. Uh, I believe it needs to be not just daily, but throughout the day.
Yeah, for
Here's
sure.
here's something I was thinking about before we started this because I knew we were going to do this. I have a mentor. I we all have mentors. If you don't, mentors, coaches, then
You
that's
get yourself one.
probably a reason why you are where you are at the level you are at. Not to be mean, but we all need people that we can learn from,
Yeah.
be guided by, coached by. Uh, a gentleman named Marshall Silver, his book Passion, Profit, and Power, one of the top 10 foundational books for my journey as an entrepreneur, and I started to re-engage that. I read that book many times, many years ago, and he is a hypnotist. That's his and he understands about NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Can you imagine how cool it would be to be a hypnotist? To be able to hypnotize others? Guess what? We are hypnotizing ourselves
Yeah,
every single day.
exactly.
You are a hypnotist because it's just a different way of looking at it. Your I am statements, your self talk, that you are incorporating into your subconscious mind. And we do it all the time. I do it all the time. Sometimes I know things, but I don't do those things. So do I know them? Am I practicing them the way that I ought to be? Still learning, still growing.
We
But
all are.
if we could imagine that we are hypnotists, then we would be more careful knowing that the words that we say
Yeah.
are being planted into our own minds and affecting our belief systems, our habits, our actions, our outcomes.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I teach my nurses, especially the baby nurses, is they'll be like, I can't start this IV. And I'm like, well, of course you can't. If you're going into it with that attitude, and it's not the attitude, it's the words, it's the actual words. I walk into a room and I tell the patient, I'm starting your IV. Oh, you're going to try to start my IV. No, I'm not going to try. I'm going to do it. And it's just having that confidence. Now, as a nurse, I can have that confidence. That's easy for me. I've been doing it for so long. But for other things, it's easy to say, well, I can't do this. I can't run a marathon. Well, I choose not to because I don't choose to train to do it. you know?
I choose not to as well. When I lived in LA, I did so many different things. I was a casting director a couple of different times,
Cool.
and I was a casting director for a small, not for a part. They do it a lot of different ways. Sometimes they're casting for specific shows, but sometimes they're casting to have actors and actresses join their agency. So they're not being cast for something specific. And
Gotcha.
then we send them out on auditions. And I would be there sometimes when they were doing auditions, and an actress might walk in, and before going into the audition, it was not uncommon for one to say, to turn to me and say, do you think I'll get the part? And I would sometimes say, even back then, this was 20 years ago, I had some understanding of the power of thought and And I would say no. No,
Why?
because you had to ask.
Ah,
And this has happened with our Ultimate Speaker competition more than once. Somebody has said to me, you think I could win?" I said, "No, I don't think you could win." "Do you think you could win?" "Because you're asking me." No, I'm
yeah.
not saying that we're supposed to be con overconfident or, but I don't think a lot of people are suffering from that.
No, I think that people tend to they tend to look at the negative, and it's so important to bring that positive side of yourself up. You know, we recently lost our puppy Bruno, and if I could look at myself the way that Bruno looked at me, I mean, I think I could accomplish anything.
Yeah.
If I saw myself the way he saw me all the time, just looking at me, just saying, I trust you and I believe in you and I know that you're going to take care of me. If I could do that for myself the way that he looked at me, I mean, I'd kill it.
Yeah.
Good thought, huh? Interesting.
Well, also the way that Bruno looked at himself. Bruno, like you wrote in one of your posts, Bruno didn't, he was 4 pound Chihuahua. Friends, Bruno didn't know he was a Chihuahua. Nobody told him.
No.
And he didn't act like he was a tiny little thing that could have easily been stepped on. He made his presence known, and whether you wanted to know or not. And he had, as much as a dog could have, he had a very strong uh, self-image, very strong
Yeah.
self-confidence.
Yeah. That's such an interesting way to say it because so many people like they feel like if I get, if I get make a lot of money, then that's less for other people. And it's nature in general is so they teach us so much, right? If we could look into nature, and it's Kathy Heller talks about the trees that the tree doesn't think if I get oxygen and water, then there won't be enough for the other trees.
Mm,
They just grow and they just do what they're meant to do, what God made them to do. And as humans, we tend to doubt our abilities, and we fear, the tree doesn't think, gosh, I wonder if I could get tall. It doesn't think that, it just gets tall.
mhm.
And if we could just learn to do that ourselves, that would be pretty amazing. Christoff, we are talking a lot about mindset, and so tell me, well, let's talk. We still haven't really hit on the I am statement, so let's really tell people how to do an I am. Like, what is an I am statement? What am I talking about?
And I am is your declaration of what you aspire to, desire, want to accomplish, achieve, receive, attract, become, all of that.
Yeah,
And they need to be when people, and one's goals ought to be written. And I think Bob Proctor is the one who really made this well known, and the understanding of the format and the structure. When people are writing their goals, they should be in an I am statement. And he was very famous for this one particular intro line, which is, "I am so happy and grateful now that I am bum, 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 bum.
right.
I am so happy and grateful now that I am." So you're looking towards the future, but you're saying it in the present tense or the present progressive tense if you want to put ing, that I am becoming. But it's even better to just say I am
Yeah,
rather than become mean. And a lot of people, most people, when they write their goals, they're writing down, "I will lose 50 pounds by." "I will earn blank by." I will. And will is the future, and it's always out in front of us. Our subconscious does not know the difference between past, present, and future. It also doesn't know the difference about not. So when we say not, I am not going to smoke. I am not going to, whatever it is, curse. When we say not, the and I don't understand why, but this is science proves this, and
Science.
is well known that this is true. When we say not, then the subconscious mind goes after what we say. So if I say I am not going to smoke, my subconscious brain is only taking in I am smoking. I smoke. I don't know why I use smoking. I'm not a smoker. I smoke cigars.
Once in a
That's not
while.
the same. That's not the same. Yes, it is. No, it's not.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
our,
and
our,
it's
our,
interesting. You're right. You're so right about that. About making sure that you're saying it in present tense is so important. And then like you said, not adding not because it's just not. It just won't work. It can't. It's not able to. It's our brain is focusing on it. It's like if I see if I when I got the white Mustang and all of a sudden I see white Mustangs everywhere because that's what my brain is focusing on. And if your brain is focusing on not smoking, it's focusing on smoking. And you want to create a different I am smoke free or I am tobacco free is a better way to say that.
it is, and then I would even say that there's maybe other ways that you don't even focus on that,
Yeah.
where it would be more of I always only put healthful products in and on my body. Just like if we were to say, I no longer attract negative people. Well, you've got no longer and you've got negative. Rather than the better way might be to say, I'm always attracting positive, uplifting, inspiring, like-minded people. So
Yeah.
we're not even focusing on the thing we don't want.
Yeah.
Because when we
Exactly.
focus on what we don't want, we will attract more of it. Who was
Exactly.
it? Somebody said, maybe it was Mother Teresa. She said she will never go to an anti-war rally,
That was Mother Teresa.
but she will certainly support a peace rally.
Yes. Yeah. And then the same thing she also says, like donating money, that she'll donate money to, for example, for healthy children, but she won't donate money to an abortion, to anti-abortion. Same, she said the same. It's the same thing. I am so excited to have you on here. One of the things that I did recently when we did the Heart Centered Summit was I was on I at the time had my broken foot and
Yes.
I was riding my little knee scooter, which I absolutely hated. Even though everybody thinks they look like so much fun, they are not when you have to do it for 3 months straight. So I'm on my knee scooter and I dropped my notes and I said, "Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that." And everybody said, "No, no, Michelle, it's okay." And people were jumping up to help me, and it was all part of the skit. And that was so hard for me to say those words even about myself.
Mm. Yeah. Once we know, it's hard to pretend
Yeah,
because we know how powerful our words and
exactly.
the energy that they carry.
Exactly, exactly. So as we're entering 2025, let's talk a little bit about mindset and about effective communication, because you are a speaker coach. So let's talk a little bit and how do people, because not everybody's on stage that's listening to us. They
Sure.
could be, but they're not. But effective communication, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah, I call myself a speaker empowerment coach, and Lily knows exactly what I mean. Uh,
That's why she whined, because that way she
here's
got attention.
exactly so many people. Two things I will say. One, there are more people out there that are listening to this that are probably called to speak than actually are admitting, accepting, and embracing that. So if that is
100%.
something that we just were at an event recently and we met a couple, and this one woman, very successful, said, she mentioned one of my mentors and said, "Oh, that person's always trying to get her on stage." And I said, "Well, what's the resistance?" And she said, "Well, I think it might probably be time for it to happen now."
Yeah.
So if you're that person, then you ought to be open, or I encourage you to be open and to pursue the avenue, pursue the opportunity, see what's out there. But for other people, you might be thinking, well, I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those speaker types. But you do use communication
Right.
every single day.
Hmm.
I go to a lot of networking events, and at networking events, you're supposed to meet people and tell them about yourself. And so many people are so lacking in confidence, lacking in the ability to just clearly communicate
Yeah.
concisely with confidence and with that energy what they do, what their business
Yeah.
is. I say, you know that I always say this, but your audience may not know this. Write this down. It's all energy.
It's all energy.
We're all connected.
We're all connected,
It all comes back to you.
and it all comes back to me.
And it all comes back to me too. So it's
Let
true for
just
both.
just a real quick interjection because you're talking about networking events. So a networking event is also a Christmas party or a New Year's party, where and the reason I say that is because people still need to be able to go up to other humans at a party and say, "Hi, I'm Michelle," and and introduce yourself and enjoy the time. Otherwise, you're standing in the corner by yourself going.
Yeah. And
So
saying like, oh, and we judge, oh, that person would want to talk to me, or I don't know what I would say to that person. And it really comes from, yes, it is true that people have a fear of public speaking, getting on stage. They have, but if what you do is something that you care about, if you are
yeah,
connected with an organization, a nonprofit, a business, a company, something that you care about, you believe in,
yeah,
it
exactly.
would become natural for you to develop self-confidence. That's one of the things that I do when I work with speakers and non-speakers, help them develop their confidence, and then also to tap into realize actually you do have something of value. Even if you don't know or don't believe that you are a speaker, hey, have you lived some life? Have you
Exactly.
gone through some stuff? You know that when you are, everybody has people that are their friends or their colleagues that if they're talking one on one, most of the time you don't have a problem. Like, oh, Susie, I'm so sorry to hear you're going through that. Let me not give you some advice, but
Yeah.
I can share a story about what happened when I was going through that, or let me pray for you, or whatever the case
Hmm.
may be. When it's one on one, it's common for us all to not, because we're not worried about what others are thinking.
Right.
And I know this person, they know me, we're just talking. And if you're out in public and you're at a networking event, it's just having that same mindset, knowing that I have something of value to share that could help that other person,
Exactly.
whether it's my something I've gone through that I've learned that I can share something with you, or it might be a company that I'm connected with, or a service, or something that helped me out with my health, or this or that. You
Or it
should
might be that you're meant to talk to them to learn something or pick something up from them too.
exactly. And when we put the focus on the other person, I don't love the phrase, what do you do? And so I have my own little, I say, what's your gig?
Yeah.
And they, what do you mean? It's, like what do you sometimes might say, what are you into? But then people are like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
That's
No.
that sounds weird. But if you give a more open-ended kind of question,
Yeah.
that if somebody says, what are you into? Right now, like Michelle said, recently, our little Bubby Bruno passed away. I was at multiple events in the last couple of weeks. The first thing I'm talking to people is showing them pictures
Of Bubby.
of him.
Yeah.
Even though I'm at a business event and
Hmm.
I would love to connect with people to get more clients, sure. So, but if they say, "What do you do?" and I can't say, well, my puppy passed away. That doesn't answer the question,
Right.
what do you do?
But so much
Right?
of getting clients and making business connections is about authenticity. It's about saying I'm sad today. I lost my puppy recently. That's okay, but authenticity is so important in life in general. And it's one of my favorite words, authenticity and transparency. Those are my two big words. Christoff, let's share with my listeners. And I typically I interview women. I don't have
I
very many
know.
men interviewed at all, and so I'm going to ask you the same questions though. So tell
Okay.
me your favorite self care. What do you like to do for yourself?
I have two things. I have three things. One, because part of self-care to me, is feeling relaxed.
Right.
And I love, while it may not be healthful, it is mentally relaxing. I love sitting outside in the sun, smoking a cigar. And
I
it
knew that
also
would be your
brings.
first one.
So I'm not going to put that on a chart. Self-care, smoke a cigar. But
But it
maybe
but sitting
because
outside in the sun is so important. And
sitting outside in the sun,
it is so important to you, especially. I know you really feel better when you've been outside.
I do. And also, which I have not done for quite some time, sitting outside in the sun by the water.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And 25 will have much more of that activity. And
Absolutely.
then soaking in the tub
Yeah.
and reading and listening to music.
Yeah.
Those are my top self-carers.
I love that. And those are all awesome self-care uh, items, things to do. And men know it's okay to soak in the tub. It feels so good. And you can light a candle. I don't know if Christoff does or not because I leave him. I let him, that's his private time. And but you can light a candle. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. And it's okay. Like there's not rules. There's not
Well,
rules.
I'll tell you an old memory, and then I know you have a couple more questions. When I lived in LA, for a period of time, I lived for free in mansions. I was a kind of like a house sitter for a real estate company.
Okay, cool.
And I don't know, my understanding is that they could keep homeowners insurance on it or something, like if it was occupied, so to speak,
Got
or
it.
so, I don't even know. But one of the places that I stayed in was a beautiful mansion, and it had a huge bathroom with a big skylight that
Wow.
also opened.
Wow.
And one of my memories is of soaking in the tub and smoking a cigar in the bathroom.
Oh
It
my
had exhaust
goodness.
and everything.
That's
So
funny. I'm sure it was set up just for that.
not a common experience, but something that I recall.
So I'd like for you to imagine something for me, and that is that as the person you are right now, go back in time and meet your 12-year-old self. What do you want to tell him?
12 years old,
12-year-olds
I,
are going through a hard
I
time.
would have been, well, I would say you will find the love of your life. It's just going to take a while. And just stay positive.
Yeah.
That's you.
All right. So, other than the love of his life, what would you like to tell this poor kid? He's going through some hard times, man. He's going through puberty. He's going through, all the stuff that kids go through.
You have greatness within you.
That's perfect.
You have greatness within you, and you have a road of success and significance ahead of you, and learn the lessons along the way.
I love that. I love that. That's so awesome. We're going to do a rapid echo segment, and that's where I'm going to say a word, and you can either say a word, a sentence, or we can have a conversation. There's no wrong way to do it. So the first one is communication.
Excellence.
Very nice. Confidence.
You need it. Not you.
Everyone, I know, I got it. Don't worry. We all need it, and I
We
do
all
need
need it.
confidence. I
We
do
all
need
need it.
confidence. Service.
Sorely lacking.
Impact.
My life's mission.
Empowerment.
What I am all about.
I love that. And you're such you're like I know this interview went a little bit longer than I usually do, but it was well worth it because we had so much to say. But you're such a blessing and a great person for people to get to know and to be around. And I would like for my listeners to be able to reach out to you. How can they reach out to you?
Christoff, Christoff, like Frank, 360.com. Christoff360.com. There you will find all my contact info, so my email, my phone number, all my social media. And if you are desiring to take a look at up-leveling your communication skills, 3 words, well, for Standing Ovation Masterclass.com.
Yeah. This episode is airing on January 5th, and tell us what is going on at the end of January.
At the end of January, we might be going on a cruise.
Or we might be going to do the Heart Centered Summit.
Okay, after that. It is scheduled. We have people enrolled already. It is the Heart Centered Summit. It will be our third one. This is a very unique, you use the word empowerment, and it is, some people say it's overused. It's overused if you're not about that, if you're just throwing around the word.
Right.
But if you happen to engage, experience being at an event that, well, it's the name of our business as well, Grace Empowerment Enterprises, then you understand it's about helping people feel that what they have within themselves is of value to others and giving them the tools and equipping and the guidance and the coaching and all of that, the mindset for them to share those gifts to the world. So the Heart Centered Summit, you will meet other like-hearted speakers, entrepreneurs, business leaders, business owners, uh, people just starting out in that journey. You will experience what we call the Unleash Your Inner Superhero experience. If you were going to be a superhero, who would you be? Not are you Batman or Iron Man or Wonder Woman or Black Panther, but if you were to think about your gifts and talents and your character traits and your desires and goals and turn that into a superhero persona that is unique to you, we take you through this amazing workshop.
Yeah.
You're going to meet some authors. If you are an author, you may want to be a speaker. If you're a speaker and you're an author, you may want to join. It's one of the most impactful events that I've ever had been able to be a part of, and we are the creators and producers of it.
Yeah. And if you don't want to speak and you just want to, and you live in the Vegas area and you just want to come and watch, then we can get you tickets for it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
It's
we would
an
love to
amazing
have
event.
1 million people there.
Or less.
Okay, maybe less. Well, I mean, it'd be cool. Christoff, what does the word dare mean to you?
Dare. Dare. It's don't think about what others think. Don't hold back. It's I just told you last night. We've been speaking on this show since last night. I told you earlier not you to use the negatives, but I think sometimes we have to say, don't hold yourself back. So push, go forward, take the leap, take the jump, no restraints, move forward, do it,
And what
make
about
it
the word
happen.
what about the word care?
The focused attention of service for others.
So if I ask you what the podcast Dare to Care was about, you would say it's about not holding back and focusing your attention on the service of others.
That is absolutely it. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right here.
I love doing that. It's just so much fun to put it together and just I like to know, like I like to think about what does dare to care mean to other people. And so instead of thinking about it, I just ask, what does dare mean? What does care mean? Because it just means different things to different people.
Yeah.
And the person earlier, all she could think about was truth or dare, and the game truth or dare. And I was like, well, okay, what did that part mean to you? So it's just so much fun. Christoff, thank you so much for hanging out with me for an hour, and I hope that my listeners are taking the time to hear all this because there's so much good stuff here. Thank you. I love you so much, and I appreciate everything that you are and everything that you help me to be.
Amen. And listen, friends, keep on listening to Dare to Care. I know you love this podcast. She did not ask me, but I'm asking you. Please write a comment, write a review, give a review,
Yeah.
click that little link to share it. Just put it out on social media. Hey, I just listened to Michelle's podcast. It was amazing. And we really want to continue to grow this so that
Yeah.
more people can be inspired and empowered and encouraged in their journeys. So, this is a great, great forum and opportunity. And if you dare to care, whatever your area of expertise, passion, line of work may be, I would invite you to reach out to Michelle. It doesn't matter where you are in the
Yeah,
world, we can
for
do
real.
this from anywhere. And maybe you can see yourself as a guest on this show. I'd love to see you on here. Cheers. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, honey. I appreciate you. And yeah, I am open to different modalities. I had financial expert for the first time. I interviewed a financial expert, so she's going to be on coming up. Oh, what day? On the 7th, so in a couple days after this. But I'm so excited to just get people on here who care about what they're doing, who whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And there's no such thing as just a I'm just a I'm just a nurse, I'm just a CNA. It's not about that. It's about you really caring about what you do. And if you care, then I do. And I would like to remind my listeners just to always remember to dare to care because caring is cool.
Yes, yes, yes. See y'all
Talk to you
next
soon.
time.